On February 28, 3 days after the start of the Ukraine war, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced a new defense policy in the Bundestag. He said that due to the aggression in Ukraine, Germany had entered a new era. The Financial Times recalls that the German government's stance surprised many. For weeks, the German government has been widely criticized for not taking Ukraine's side directly and for not strongly opposing Russia. Scholz said that after the recent events and his recent talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, he was convinced that the Russian president wanted to build a new empire. And in order to maintain democracy and peace at this moment, Europe needs to strengthen its defenses. Scholz announced earlier this year that he would invest €100 billion, $110 billion, to modernize the German military. He also promised to raise the German defense budget to more than 2% of GDP in the coming years. As a NATO member, Germany has promised to spend 2% of its GDP on defense. But like many European countries, Germany did not even reach that target. The Financial Times reports that Germany has maintained a cautious relationship with Russia during the 16-year rule of former Chancellor Angela Merkel. During Merkel's time, agreements were reached between the two countries, particularly on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia to Germany across the Baltic Sea. Under former U.S. President Donald Trump, Merkel ignored U.S. pressure to increase defense spending. Until recently, Germany had stopped providing military assistance to Ukraine. Germany has said it will abide by its non-proliferation policy in any war. But in recent years, Germany has backtracked on its policy of giving arms to Ukraine. U.S. media outlet NBC says Merkel cut Germany's military budget while maintaining good relations with Russia. Now many are looking at his role differently. Daniela Schwarzer, executive director of the think tank Open Society Foundations, says Merkel has not reduced her reliance on Russia for hydrocarbons since Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. But has supported Nord Stream 2 despite protests from the United States and Ukraine. According to Eurostat, 36% of Germany's gas in 2010 came from Russia. In 2020, it stands at 75%. Olaf Scholz has clarified some of the issues in the new defense policy. In the coming days, Germany will further consolidate its military position in NATO member countries in Eastern Europe. Germany's joint nuclear arms deal with the United States will further enhance its fleet of fighter jets used for nuclear strikes. In addition to purchasing drones, he said his government would jointly develop sixth-generation fighter jets and tanks with France. Scholz said the question now was for Europe to keep a warlord, like Putin in the middle of the border without allowing Putin to return to the past. He also promised to work for the rapid reduction of dependence on Russian hydrocarbons. He hopes to implement this promise by buying more gas from the global market, building 2 new LNG terminals as soon as possible and increasing his coal and gas reserves. However, he wants to keep the climate promise to make Germany carbon neutral by 2045. German Finance Minister Robert Habeck told Deutschlandfunk Radio that Germany would not have enough gas to heat homes and run factories if it did not find a new gas supplier before next winter and if Russian gas supplies were cut off. To that end, he has traveled to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates to find new gas suppliers. Large German companies are also taking part in talks with the two countries on liquefied natural gas and green hydrogen. Martina Maas, chief executive of the German company ThyssenKrupp, praised the German minister's efforts during the visit. Deutsche Welle says Qatar currently supplies 30% of the EU's liquefied natural gas, but Germany is not an importer. Because Germany did not build LNG terminals relying on Russian gas. Habeck hopes that Germany will be able to build 2 terminals in 5 years. Daniela Schwarzer says a large part of Schulz's new defense investment is not for a new policy, but to balance the fact that Germany's defense budget has been kept low under Merkel so far. The money will be used to develop Germany's military, which is in dire straits. On the other hand, in the absence of an LNG terminal, importing gas and hydrogen from Qatar and the UAE as alternatives to Russian gas is not possible overnight. Until then, Germany may be looking to Vladimir Putin. Deutsche Welle recalls that German Minister Habeck, the leader of the Green Party, which emphasizes climate, is now forgetting the climate and building LNG terminals to import hydrocarbons. And to counter Russia's undemocratic government, Qatar and the UAE have forgotten about democracy and human rights and have resorted to importing energy from there. Chancellor Scholz's new defense policy is not really a different one. Because Germany is just a child in international politics. The war in Ukraine changed the reality for Scholz and Habeck. Where the United States and Russia played a major role and Germany was a mere spectator.